Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time we're going deep with Jyoti CNC Automation. You sent us their Q2FY25 earnings conference call transcript. So much good stuff in here. It's like getting a glimpse into the future.
Yeah, we can learn a lot about their strategy, their priorities, and of course, where the risks might be lurking.
Right, exactly. Gotta look at those risks, too.
And remember, we always say, you gotta read between the lines, think critically. We're not just taking everything at face value, are we?
Absolutely not.
There's always a bigger picture. Always.
So let's set the stage. Jyoti CNC, they're a big player in CNC machine tools, and they've got a global reach. Roots in India and Europe. More than 130,000 machines out there in over 60 countries.
Wow, that's a lot of machines.
Right. And they're not slowing down. In fact, this call reveals some pretty big ambitions. Rapid growth, massive new order book. And they're moving into some really cutting-edge sectors, aerospace, electronics manufacturing.
Sounds like they're not afraid of a challenge.
Not at all. So let's dive right in. First things first, let's break down their current business segments, where they're making their money right now, as of Q2 of FY25.
Sounds good.
Okay. So aerospace is their leading segment, bringing in 38% of revenue. Then there's auto and auto components, that's at 29%, and general engineering still holding strong at 16%. But here's where it gets interesting. Their EMS business, that stands for Electronics Manufacturing Services, by the way, that's already at 11%.
And growing, I bet.
And projected to grow even more. And then there's the wild card semiconductor equipment. Tiny slice right now, but they're definitely eyeing it for the future.
Smart move. Electronics and semiconductors, that's where the action is these days.
Absolutely. But, it's a tough market.
Very competitive.
Yeah. So, can they pull it off? Well, that's a question for later. But first, let's talk about their overall outlook, their vision for the future. And they're painting a pretty rosy picture.
Rosy, how so?
Well, they're projecting 20% CAGR growth in the Indian machine tool market over the next 5 to 7 years. That's a lot of growth. And they're betting big on replacing imports, capturing that growth, basically saying, hey, India can make this stuff too.
Makes sense. They're a domestic player. Got to tap into that home market.
Exactly. And they're not just talking about it, they're backing it up with some serious investments.
Like what?
Well, they already increased their capacity to 6,000 machines per year.
That's a lot of machines.
And they're not stopping there. Planning to invest 400 crore rupees, that's a lot of money, in a brand new facility. Another 10,000 machines per year coming online in the next couple of years.
Wow. They're really going for it.
They are, aiming to be a manufacturing powerhouse, not just in India, but globally. And speaking of globally, let's talk about their international expansion plans, specifically their move into the U.S. market.
Ah, yes, the land of opportunity.
Right, but also a land of fierce competition. So what's their plan? They're going to set up tech centers and warehouses within a year. Pretty ambitious timeline, if you ask me.
It is ambitious, and the U.S. market, it's not easy to crack.
Nope. They'll need to bring their A-game, top-notch technology, competitive pricing, and top-notch customer support.
Absolutely. You've got to win over those American customers. They have high expectations.
And then there's the whole logistics challenge.
Right.
Setting up that distribution network, managing inventory, making sure service is smooth and timely, all of that in a new market, not easy.
Not easy at all. And let's not forget about the cultural differences. Customer expectations in the U.S., they can be very different from what they're used to in India or Europe.
Right. Different needs, different ways of doing business.
Yeah.
So they'll need to adapt. Show that they understand the American market.
Definitely. Build trust, build relationships. That's key in any market, but especially in the U.S.
So are you sensing some potential risks here?
Well, the speed and scale of their expansion, that's a risk in itself. They're taking on a lot, spreading themselves thin, potentially.
Right. If they don't execute perfectly.
Exactly. Delays, cost overruns could damage their reputation. All possible.
And then there's the competitive landscape. They're going up against some giants in the U.S., companies with deep roots, established relationships.
It's a tough battle, no doubt about it.
And we can't forget about the economic uncertainty out there. Signs of a potential slowdown. That could hit demand, especially in sectors like auto and aerospace. Those are sensitive to economic cycles.
Yeah, those are definitely factors to consider.
So it seems Jyoti CNC is walking a tightrope here. Bold vision, solid track record, but also some serious risks. Can they pull it off?
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? We'll have to dive deeper into their financials, their technology, and their overall strategy to really get a handle on that.
I'm ready to dive deeper. This is shaping up to be a fascinating deep dive.
Absolutely. Lots more to uncover. One thing that struck me, going through this transcript is how focused Jyoti is on grabbing a bigger piece of that Indian market.
Yeah, they see a big opportunity there. Replacing imports, becoming the main supplier for those Indian manufacturers.
Right. It's like they're saying, hey, why buy from foreign companies when you can get it right here at home in India?
Exactly. And it makes sense. India's manufacturing sector is booming, so the demand for CNC machines, that's just going to keep going up.
Absolutely. And Jyoti's not just talking, they're putting their money where their mouth is. Remember that massive investment? 400 crore rupees for a new facility.
Yeah, huge investment.
That's a clear sign they're serious about this. They want to serve the Indian market, boosting their capacity to, 16,000 machines a year.
It's ambitious, that's for sure. Especially since they're also trying to break into the U.S. market at the same time.
Two fronts, almost like a two-pronged attack.
It's like they're trying to win on two different battlefields, home front and a foreign one. That takes a lot of resources, a lot of coordination.
Absolutely. And it's not just about making more machines, it's about making the right machines for the right markets. They talked about focusing on those entry-level machines, right, for EMS and other sectors that are growing fast.
Right, the EMS sector. Smart strategy, focusing on areas with high demand and maybe a little less cutthroat competition.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, diversify your portfolio, different customer segments, multiple ways to grow. But that also means things get more complex.
For sure. Different supply chains, different marketing, maybe even different brands almost.
Right. And let's not forget, there are risks. Expanding too fast can really stretch you thin. Resources get spread too thin. You lose focus. Even your own products might start competing with each other.
Definitely. It's all about balance, right? Yeah. Finding that sweet spot between pushing for growth and making sure it's sustainable. And then there's that whole U.S. expansion, which they're tackling at the same time.
Oh, yeah, back to that. They said tech centers and warehouses within a year. Ambitious timeline? No.
Trying to build Rome in a day, practically. They have to move fast, make some big decisions, and get it right out of the gate. First impressions, that's everything, especially in a competitive market like the U.S.
For sure. Hit the ground running, establish yourself, build credibility fast. And those cultural differences we talked about, they can't underestimate that. What works in India or Europe doesn't automatically translate to the U.S.
Different world, almost. They've got to learn the language of American business if they want to succeed.
Steep learning curve. Got to be adaptable, willing to change course as they go.
They mentioned setting up those tech centers. So they're thinking about localized support, customization. Right.
Smart move. Shows potential customers that they're serious about the U.S. market, willing to go the extra mile.
Sets them apart from those competitors who might be taking a more, one-size-fits-all approach. And while we're on that, what about the technology side? They're pushing some boundaries, right? That 7sense software, their ambition to make their own CNC controllers, drives, and motors, that's bold.
Right. That's where they could really gain an edge. Right now, they rely on other companies for those components. But if they can do it in-house, huge advantage. Control over costs, quality, and they're not dependent on anyone else.
It's like going from buying ingredients to growing your own food. Total control, start to finish.
And that control could be a game changer, especially as they go into these new markets and face more competition.
But it's a big if, right?
Yeah.
Developing those technologies takes time, expertise, money, and there's no guarantee it'll work. They're going up against established players who've been doing this for years.
It is a gamble. High risk, high reward.
Even if the technology is great, they still have to convince customers to use it. Prove that it's not just innovative, but reliable, affordable, easy to integrate. It's not just about having the best tech. It's about having the best solution for the customer.
Totally. Understanding the customer, building those relationships, that local expertise, it all comes back to that. The tech can't speak for itself. They need to tell a story that resonates, that shows Jyoti is the right partner.
So many pieces to this puzzle. They've got to balance growth, manage those international markets, and master the tech side of things. It's a lot to handle.
It is. High stakes, for sure. That's what makes this deep dive so interesting. This company, they're at a turning point. They could become huge, but there are a lot of hurdles to jump. The next few years, the decisions they make, that's going to determine everything.
It's a bit of a David versus Goliath situation, isn't it? Going up against the giants of the industry. But David won that one, right?
He did. Maybe Jyoti can too. Right strategy, the right innovation, and maybe a bit of luck. As we've been going through all this, it's really clear that Jyoti's not just building machines. They're building a whole I don't know, a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's bigger than just the machines themselves.
Right. And a key part of that is, that vertical integration they keep talking about.
Yeah, controlling the supply chain.
Exactly. They talked about like foundry to assembly. That's pretty impressive.
They're basically saying, we don't need to rely on other people. We're going to make it all ourselves.
Big advantage, especially these days, Supply chains, they can be so unpredictable.
Yeah, disruptions everywhere.
Having those capabilities in-house for the important stuff, it reduces risk. You can control quality, make sure things are delivered on time.
It's like having all your ingredients ready to go. Don't have to run to the store in the middle of cooking.
Perfect analogy. And they're not stopping there. The R&D investment, that's huge too. Those Leonardo da Vinci centers, over 140 engineers working on all this cutting-edge stuff.
They're not just following the trends. They want to set the trends. Be the innovators.
Exactly. And they talked about their Huron subsidiary in France as a big part of that.
Huron.
Yeah, Huron. Long history of, really precise engineering. They've been super important in developing those higher end products for Jyoti.
Like a secret weapon almost. Gives them an edge.
Right. And they're using that expertise to build some pretty impressive things like that 7sense factory automation software.
Now, for people who aren't familiar with that kind of software, what does it actually do?
It's basically the brain of the whole manufacturing operation. Controls the machines, analyzes the data, makes sure everything runs smoothly, efficiently.
So it's orchestrating the whole thing.
Exactly, like a conductor leading an orchestra. And then there's the whole, making their own CNC controllers, drives, and motors.
Right, the core components of the machines themselves. That's a big leap.
Huge. Usually those are made by specialized companies. But if they can do it, huge advantage. Costs, quality, they're not relying on anyone else for that critical stuff.
It's like, I don't know, a chef who decides to grow their own vegetables, raise their own livestock, everything. Total control, farm to table.
Exactly. And that kind of control, it's a game changer, especially as they go global, face more competition.
But it's not just about the tech, right? They talked about people too. Developing their workforce, recognizing that, people are the ones who actually make all this happen.
Absolutely. Training, centers of excellence, building a culture of innovation. It's like they're creating a pipeline of talent, making sure they've got the right people with the right skills to drive this growth.
Because at the end of the day, it's the people who make it happen. The engineers, the technicians, the sales teams, everyone. They bring the vision to life.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up this deep dive on Jyoti CNC Automation, what are we seeing? A company with big ambitions, a clear plan, and they're not afraid to push the limits.
Betting big on India, going global, investing in technology and their people.
But they're facing some serious challenges too.
Right.
Competition, uncertainty in the economy, the whole complexity of expanding internationally.
It's a big question mark, right? Can they actually do all of this? Only time will tell.
It will. But one thing's for sure, Jyoti CNC is a company to watch. Their story, it's all about innovation, determination, believing that anything is possible. That's what makes business so exciting, right?
Absolutely. It's always changing, always pushing forward, and a reminder that, even when things are tough, people can still achieve amazing things.
So to all our listeners out there, keep following Jyoti's journey. This is just the beginning. Who knows what the next chapter will bring?
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay curious.